Hello and welcome to Post to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Time to talk about the Boston Bruins. I think they're one of the last teams we have to do. But before we get into the Boston Bruins, we released a video the other day about your hat collection, and we left out a hat by accident.
Correct.
The Wheeling Nailers hat there.
The Wheeling Nailers. And it was just in a different place, not in the regular hat area. And we found it after the video had gone to production. So
we just wanted to make that known that we didn't forget about it. So there it is.
Thank you.
So back to the Bruins. Now, as Canadians fans at heart, this is a tough video for us to make because Boston did very well last year.
They really did.
We're going to say a lot of positive things about the Bruins, and that's not easy to do being a Canadians fan. But we can see greatness when we see it, and Boston was pretty great last year.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is compare the 2016-17 season to their last year's season, 2017-2018. If you've watched these videos before, then you know the whole routine. I don't really have to explain it, but I know that we get new subscribers every day, so I like to go through it. After that, we're going to talk about some storylines from the last season. So, points from 16-17, they had 95, and they went to 112. That's a pretty substantial increase.
Big time.
So you'd think that they'd probably improve in every other category that I'm about to mention.
One would presume.
That's not actually the case. Goals for, they went from 232 to 267. That's an increase.
35 goals.
Goals against, 209 to 211, so decrease. Power play, 21.7 to 23.5, increase.
Increase.
Penalty kill, 85.7 down to 83.7, decrease. Face-offs, 53.2, which is very good, down to 50.7, so they lost just under 3%.
2.5 points.
Yeah,
there.
so
yeah.
It says a little bit. It says that they're getting a little better 5-on-5, and they didn't pay a lot of attention to their penalty kill this year. And their face-offs went down, which those two things, the penalty kill and the face-offs, probably have a little bit of correlation. They're losing some defensive draws while they're killing the penalty, which results in goals. These are minor. These are very minor. I mean, like 112 points. This is really nitpicky stuff to complain about, but and it's not even really worth complaining. There's still very, very good numbers. Above 50% in the face-off circle is pretty good. So just a few notes that I have written down here. 8 players got 40 points or more. We talked about that with, I think, Nashville. We talked about the depth. You want to have a team that you have all these guys who can put up 40-plus points. That's what you want. You don't want one guy in your team to get 100 points and the rest to get, like, 35 or 38 or something like that.
No, when you've got that kind of distribution across maybe 3 lines and 1 or 2 D lines, it's hard to play against a team like that.
Absolutely.
It's hard to match up.
They can roll any line and just go.
Yeah.
2 of which were 80 or above. And Marchand had the most with 85. But he only played 68 games. They get 85 points in 68 games. That's extremely impressive.
He would have had 100 points if he hadn't behaved so badly.
You are correct.
Yeah.
So Marchand actually had more penalty minutes than McQuaid, Chara, and McAvoy. Not all together, but just in general. He had, and those are all hard-hitting players.
Yeah.
Chara's huge. He loves to throw the body. McAvoy loves to throw the body as well. McQuaid loves to fight. So the fact that Marchand had more penalty minutes than them is a little funny to me, because most of the penalties that Marchand gets are little chintzy ones, like a trip or a little hook or something like that. Penalties that he doesn't need to take.
Yeah, like when McQuaid got a penalty or Chara got a penalty or someone, it's usually just because they're rockin' sock'em guys. When Marchand gets a penalty, it's because he's decided to do something dumb.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because he's an amazing player.
The skill level in that man is unreal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He led in basically every other category on the team, not in shooting percentage. There were I think a couple players who played like 3 games and had like in their 20s. Not really enough games to really dictate the proper shooting percentage, but he was still at 18.7, which is very good.
Unreal, yeah.
Very, very good. So the Bruins only had 2 players play above 80 games or more. So they had dealt with some injuries this year. A total of 37 players were on the roster throughout the year. So they did have quite a bit of turnover, which is unfortunate. Now, my favorite player on Boston is Jake DeBrusk. I love Jake DeBrusk, and that's hard to say as a Canadiens fan, but I love watching him play. I think he was probably my favorite rookie from last year, and he had 43 points in 79 games, and 16 of those were goals, and he had a lot more chances. Like, he probably could have had an extra 15 points or something like that if he was a little bit more mature, with a little bit more patience. but he's so skilled. I can't wait to watch this kid play. He reminds me a little bit of Galchenyuk if Galchenyuk was consistent, if that makes any sense. Tuukka Rask, I believe, is one of the most underrated goalies in the league. He does not get enough credit. He's never really... He's not talked about like Carey Price, or he's not talked about like Lundqvist or Pekarene. He's just always kind of under the radar, and I'm not really sure why. Because his statistics have been extremely solid for the last, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years, basically.
Yep.
Very
solid. Last
year he was 2.36 goals against average and a .917 save percentage. Pretty decent numbers right there. But on the other side, his backup, Khudobin, also had 2.56 goals against average and .93 save percentage. So he also had some pretty good numbers.
He did, and I know this is about last year, not next year, but there's, I think, even with those kind of numbers, there's an improvement in goal this year for them.
Well, and if you think back to the beginning of Boston's season last year, Khudobin played a lot of games. He ended up playing 31 games in the year, but in the beginning of the season, he played like 10 or 11 games in a row maybe, and he was winning like almost all of them. He looked so good. Mm-hmm. So Khudobin really kept them in the beginning of the season. I mean, I think they still would have made the playoffs, but he was a huge reason why they got 112 points, and it was all thanks to do with the beginning, the play at the beginning of the season. I was impressed with McAvoy. We spoke about him prior to the season starting, that he really needs to watch his temper. He needs to calm down and still play a physical game, but don't cross the line, because we saw that a little bit from him previous to last season, and he was getting himself into some trouble. I thought he did way better than I thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
He really calmed down. He still threw the body, but he didn't find himself, and sometimes he did, but most of the time he did find himself in these situations where he was getting unnecessary penalties and stuff. But I really thought that he matured very quickly, and he did not look like this. He just joined the NHL. He looked like he'd been playing there for 7 or 8 years. So Boston fans have to be pretty happy about that.
I would say. I would agree. Boston's
had some turnover as far as last season that has ended, and are moving into our next season, which is literally days away. So I believe Boston is going to do, I don't know if they're going to do 112 good, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be above 100 points. And we'll get into that, actually, because in the next video that we're filming, the next 4 videos actually are prediction videos for each division, and then we're going to do prediction videos for the playoff tree. We're going to pick our Stanley Cup winners. We're going to film those right after this video.
And they're all going to roll out before Wednesday, I presume.
Exactly. They're all going to come out pretty quickly. So
yeah, Wednesday's the start of the regular season. So
if you see him wearing the same clothes for the next 4 videos, then you know.
It's not like I wear the same clothes 4 days in a row.
Yeah. So anyways, that kind of wraps up this video. So thanks to the guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know down below how you felt about the Boston Bruins season if you're a Bruins fan, and let me know how you think they'll do coming up. And who should I keep my... specifically Boston fans, this is a question for you. Who should I keep my eye on other than DeBrusk? Like who do you think deserves a little bit of a watching time from your team? And I hope that other fans from other teams read down through the comments and see some of that too, because I know most fans don't just watch their favorite team, they watch other teams play too. So who should we watch?
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good day, and we'll see you in the next one. Adios.